locker room that I was just in was actually very lively. It was very different from the locker room after Game 4 with the shock of the Tatum injury and the loss and everything. I think they're going to come in here and rally, and honestly, this feels like kind of a normal day at TD Garden, with a lot more Knicks fans than usual.
Well, we heard from Joe Mazzulla, who said Tatum sent a message to the team. Payne Pritchard talked about that. Said he was basically just talking them up before the game, trying to get them ready for this thing. He said all we care about now is Game 5. And it'll be interesting to see whether that factors in here. Mazzulla said specifically that the hurt from that moment could be something they use tonight. I don't think he wanted to totally put it to the side. He said a bunch of times you're balancing that care for Tatum with being ready to go in this game. I wonder if we're going to see just a wild, relentless, up and down, diving on the floor kind of effort here. That's what I've imagined it'll look like.
I think they have the potential to put together a very inspiring effort here. Because again, backs against the wall, this Knicks team has all the confidence in the world. But when you look at the Celtics roster, they still have more than enough to compete in this game. The question is, are you going to be able to get something out of Kristaps Porzingis, right? Can Jaylen Brown recreate what he did last round when Tatum sat? I think people are forgetting just a few weeks ago, Jaylen Brown went off when Jayson Tatum was sidelined. Can we see that effort be recreated? If so, I think they have a really good chance here. But I'm just curious what the emotions are going to feel like, because this whole city is reeling. Everybody I'm seeing on the streets of Boston today is thinking about Tatum, is talking about Tatum. This is like a devastating moment, and can that be channeled into an inspiring game? We'll know in a couple hours.
Well, we got some good information pregame on Tatum. Went to the HSS in New York. Got surgery with Martin O'Malley, Kevin Durant's surgeon. I don't know what he got specifically there, but I did talk to a doctor today that he does do that abbreviated speed bridge surgery. I don't know if that's what they went with here. There's some sense that they might have went the South typical route. I believe Spears said as well, or Tatum's dad said in that story, that it'll be about 8-9 months. So you're probably looking at a typical recovery length here, regardless of what kind of surgery he got, because they're just not going to rush him back. But it's encouraging for anyone who sees what Kevin Durant went through and how strong he came back, that Tatum went to that same surgeon in New York.
And here's the thing that I learned today. I interviewed an expert in Achilles tendon surgeries and things like that out of UPenn, and I'll have a story on that. But the number one thing that he said was how quickly you can get the surgery changes everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that Tatum was already in New York City, where the best surgeon is, where Kevin Durant's surgeon is, and he could get him in the next day. And it's not like, of course it's Tatum, he's a professional athlete, he's gonna have the best medical care in the world. This surgeon that I spoke to said professional athletes usually have to wait a few days, even if they are the world-class, most famous people, because things have to line up. You have to have a surgery day, you have to be in the right city. Normally, you get the surgery in a different city. So it was almost like a little bit of a miracle. It's hard to say that because obviously this is not a circumstance that he wanted to be in, but the fact that he was in New York and that this surgeon was available puts him in for like a really good pathway here.
Yeah, and just knowing him and how quickly he's recovered from stuff before, how attentive he is to the details. Like I was talking to someone today who was like, you gotta wear the boot. Like some guys don't wear the boot. You gotta wear the boot. You're risking rupturing it again. You're risking all these complications if you don't follow the recovery plan to a T. And he's someone maybe compared to some of the other players who have had more issues, who I think is gonna be locked in intent. A lot of the details in that Spears story that he shared, though, reflect the emotion that he went through that night and how distraught he looked on the ground. We got some Knicks fans coming in here now.
Let's hear. How are you guys feeling?
Is this thing over, guys?
Knicks in 5.
I think Knicks in 5. Let's go Knicks. But we hope you luck.
Nice.
Guys out of here.
Sam, what do you have to say?
Knicks all day, baby. Knicks all day. They have no chance.
Is it over?
It's all over, definitely, 1,000%.
This is the Knicks fan base I knew.
You're doing a good
Box him out.
Knicks in 5.
Go home, everybody from Boston. You're wasting your time.
That's not what we do here. That's not what we do here. Sick of
We're
this.
capturing the scene. We're capturing the scene of what's out here.
You got the shirt already, man.
Listen, it's been one day since Tatum got injured. 1 or 2 days. One day. And they're already selling these shirts outside. The whole city of Boston is rooting for JT to have a speedy recovery. We're all here with you, JT. You're in my prayers.
How much hope do you have left for this series now at 3-1?
Listen, everyone at school, I'm still in school, they're all telling me, Noah, what are you doing? Why are you still going to the game? I was to school and they're like, what are you doing? All I have to say, don't let us get one. We win tonight, we're going to win in MSG, then I'll get in the game 7, I'll sub in, I'll score 30 points, we'll be fine.
You got anything?
What was that?
You got anything?
No, I like the shirts. I'm always impressed by how quickly you can churn out these shirts, you know?
Very quick turnaround.
Yeah. But I have to say, my Uber driver today was wearing a Tatum jersey. Yeah. So everybody in the city, I think, is kind of like really embracing this right now.
The one thing I don't like right now is that the whole city of Boston is like very down, which I understand because of Tatum. But the series is not over. Like if we win tonight, we're back in this. We're back in the series. All it takes is one win and we're back in it.
Who's the key without Tatum now?
D. White. Pritchard and D. White. Pritchard has a good game, we'll be fine. D. White has a good game, we'll be fine.
They famously combined for 83 points this season, right? Franchise record. They're both still here. They're both, I think, at 100%. So
I'm saying Jaylen Brown, but I think it's Pritchard and D. White.
I said last night I would start Pritchard. I think I would start Pritchard in Tatum's spot. Let him play as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
All right, man. Good as always to see you. Enjoy the game.
We'll see you in there.
Do you agree with that? You think it's Pritchard?
I think it's going to be like, not to be Joe Mazzulla, but it's going to be a little bit of everybody.
No, but who starts?
Oh, I think Pritchard probably starts. Because at this point, like, it's out the window, right? The regular sub patterns, and Pritchard comes into the 6-minute mark, scratch that, right? So I say Pritchard starts. He gives you the best chance to succeed off the top. My only concern is the one game that he started this year in Portland.
Was
he had
awful.
a really bad game, and he said afterwards, maybe I'm better coming off the bench.
It ruined his rhythm, so that's a fair point.
Yeah, so maybe you just sub him in, 4 minutes in.
Yeah,
but I don't want to see more of like Pritchard because the third guy off the bench and plays 20 minutes. We're out of that now. Like, we need more.
Another note tonight: Sam Hauser's back. He's active for the first time in the series since going down in Game 1. How much do you think he's going to give them here?
I don't have a lot of expectations because he hasn't been playing, and he hasn't played in a week. He's coming off that ankle sprain. I think that if he can give you a couple threes, that's huge, but my expectations are pretty low just because he's out of rhythm. When you're throwing him into like a very high-pressure environment, and you might remember, he barely played in that Game 1, so Joe doesn't love this matchup for him. Obviously, that changes now with Tatum out, but hey, he has a great opportunity here, right? Like, Sam was one of the guys that looked really devastated after Game 4. He gets a chance to come in here and fight for Tatum, too.
His return's a little underrated, I think. Just have as a body, certainly. He's the only backup wing that we've seen in the playoffs. And they're going to go to him. I think they're going to give him an opportunity here, and he'll get the shots, too. So three-point shooting, as we've said all series, is going to swing this game. I don't think they can compete otherwise if they're not hitting threes. So Pritchard, Hauser, even Porzingis, I don't know how much confidence you have in him now. He talked a little bit at last game about feeling better, maybe going in the right direction there. I do feel like we've seen him look a tiny bit better with each passing game here. So if that continues,
he looks better, too. I just saw him in the locker room. Like, the color is back in his face. He didn't look well to me from the very unprofessional eye those first few games of the series. So if you can get anything offensively, like imagine getting like 18 points on high efficiency from Porzingis, that would be massive. But again, at the end of the day, everybody's going to have to play better. Jaylen Brown needs to have a good game because he had a really rough Game 4, and he's not going to have Tatum here to hit crazy shots and all that. So it's going to, everybody needs to do their part, but they're not going to get this win if Jaylen doesn't put together a good game, I don't think.
I was just going to go to Jaylen because he's going to be at the point. We saw it in Game 2 against Orlando. He's going to be the one attacking mismatches. He's going to be the one leading this offense. And I hope he's willing to defer to some other guys to help him out because I think the Knicks are going to come at him. They're going to attack him. They're a blitzing team. They're going to try and knock the ball out of his hands. And they did a good job of that last game. Obviously, everybody's on Jaylen right now. But in Game 2 against Orlando, Tatum out. What did he score, 40 points?
36,
10 rebounds, 5 assists. He looked like Tatum in that position. This defense has been even harder to crack somehow. But when he was in that position previously, he was great.
And he's probably going to have OG Anunoby on him. And that's been a handful for Jayson Tatum, and he's going to have to deal with that too. So you don't want him to take on the weight of the world right now. You don't want him to say, I got to go for 50 to show them. But you're going to need a solid effort from him. No live ball turnovers, no ill-advised drives, like a very disciplined game from Jaylen Brown in this one. Last thing I have is you got to rebound the ball because my biggest concern right now with Tatum out is that that's their best defensive rebounder, and they don't have him right now. And already every defensive rebound in Game 4 was a challenge, right? And so what do you do with that? I don't know. That's going to be, everybody's going to have to be dialed in on that end.
And a lot of that is Porzingis. Cornette had 0 rebounds last game. That was pretty stunning. So those guys all have to do a better job. Horford, Tatum's their best rebounder, as you say there. That's another underrated part you miss with him. And then, who's guarding Towns? That was Tatum all series prior to that. That might actually be the biggest thing they miss with him out.
Yeah, I mean, Al struggled with that matchup in the first few games, and they really shifted to more Jayson Tatum down the stretch. That's one of my bigger concerns. But listen, this is where you might throw in an X-factor guy. Like, they haven't gone at all into their depth, right?
Who could it be?
Probably nobody. But in theory, maybe you get a few minutes of Torrey Craig, a few minutes of Baylor Shireman. Everything's out the window now. Wow. I mean, you heard that with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr after Steph Curry went out, Steve Kerr said, you know, we're a different team now, right? Everything changes. It's not as extreme in Boston. They're not as built on one guy as the way the Warriors
8-2 without him this year?
8-2.
And only the Magic beat them. So this isn't the Magic. It's actually been tougher than the Magic, which is just stunning to me. And they're on the brink of elimination here tonight. A lot of Knicks fans as we look behind us here. So you know what that kind of atmosphere that's going to create if the Celtics go down early. It's going to be tough to get back up from that here. They have to strike first. They have to build the lead that they built in every game here. And we'll have coverage of it all from inside TD Garden. Crowds getting in here early. We're not too far from game time here, and this place is packing in fast. There's just a wave of fans coming at us from the street here. A lot of Knicks fans, a lot of Celtics fans too. A lot of Celtics fans still fired up here, so there's still some belief.
You would not know that Jayson Tatum is out for a year and that the Celtics are down 3-1 based on the energy in this building
They feel
right
like I feel. I just want to get to a game, and I want more games. So I'm hoping we can have a Game 6 in New York. Celtics need a win to do it. We'll have post-game coverage live after the game, as always, here on CLNS Media and Celtics All Access. For Noah Dalzell, I'm Bobby Manning. That's it for us on pregame show here from Causeway Street outside TD Garden.